So in the first case, we saw that the girl was going with a trolley and she was doing some work, and we said the boy was not doing some work because the force applied was turning into some action, right? In the first case, when she was applying force on the trolley, it was moving ahead, right? But when the boy was pushing the tree, there was no action being done, there was no displacement. So work in physics is defined as the product of force times the displacement, but you should be very careful that displacement is in the direction of the force. Okay, so how much displacement is in the direction? If the force and the displacement are in the same direction, the work done will be positive. If they are in the opposite direction, then the work done will be negative. And if they are perpendicular to each other, that is, they are not in the same direction, then the work done is zero. So we saw a couple of examples. For example, the horse pulling the cart. The horse was pulling the cart in the same direction as the displacement, right? So both force and displacement were in the same direction. But when a car was applying brakes to the car was still moving forward, but brakes means you're pushing the car in the backward direction, right? So the force was in the backward direction, but the displacement was in the forward direction, and therefore the work done by the brakes was negative. Work done in physics is not the same as what we think as work done in general in daily life. So we define in physics for it to be force into displacement. For example, if I am lifting this duster up, then my force is in upward direction, displacement is also in the upward direction, work done is positive, and then slowly I am bringing it down, right? But the displacement in downward direction, but I'm still lifting it up, right? I'm slowly leaving, but I'm still pushing in the upward direction. So the force is upward, displacement is downwards. So work done is positive, work done is negative, positive, negative. So I can keep doing this all day long, but I will get tired, but the total work done will still be zero because positive, negative cancel each other out and the work done will be zero. So you should not relate tiredness, getting tired, to work done in physics. Okay, so work you may do a lot of, for example, you saw that the porter carrying the luggage on the head and moving in this direction. The force in that case was in the upward direction and the displacement was in the forward direction, right? And they are perpendicular to each other, and therefore the work done is zero, but still the porter gets tired. Okay, so this is a very common misconception that you should not do, and you should remember that work is defined as force times the displacement in the direction of the force. So energy brings a lot of things to our mind. For example, if I'm running ahead, some sort of energy, I have some sort of energy which is making me run ahead, right? And when I'm running ahead, and for example, another example might be a cracker bursting. When the cracker bursts, you hear a loud sound and you see light everywhere, some beautiful colors, right? So when we are moving ahead, what is happening? There is some sort of work I am doing, right? And how can I do this work? It is through something which is stored in my body, and my muscles help me run, right? And so running is again force. There is a force in that direction and there's a displacement, and so some work is done in this case, right? So there is something which allows me to do this work, right? And in the second case, when the cracker is exploding, I can see some beautiful colors, I can see light, I can hear sound, right? So there are different beautiful forms that we can see, right? And so you can define energy to be, either something which will do some work, either running, or say it makes molecules move and heat stuff, or something which can change from one form to other. So for example, when a cracker bursts, there is something within the cracker which helps it burst, right? Otherwise that light and sound cannot be produced from anywhere. So there are some chemicals inside which when triggered, blasts off. So there is some energy within those chemicals, and that changes into light and sound. So you can define energy as something that has the capacity, the capability to do some sort of work, or which can transfer from, that chemical energy which was stored in the cracker to different other forms of energy, that is, say, light or sound or heat, or there are different types of energy. You saw different examples of energies, you saw electrical energy, there was thermal energy, there was nuclear energy, then there was light energy, kinetic energy, potential energy. So all these things, different forms of energy will be dealt in, and we will for now restrict our study to potential energy and kinetic energy. Okay. Within potential energy, you saw that a arrow had, the elastic in the arrow had potential energy stored in it. So that was one sort of energy. So that is called elastic potential energy. So within potential energy, there is elastic potential energy, that is, a bow and arrow. And then there is gravitational potential energy, that is stored in, for example, dams. When they move down, that gravitational energy moves with a rush and the turbines move, and which is converted, so this potential energy is converted into movement, that is kinetic energy, which in turn is used to generate electricity, which is electrical energy, right? So there is gravitational potential energy, there was elastic potential energy. Another form is chemical potential energy. We saw when the cracker burst, there was some sort of energy stored within the cracker, right? Or also the everyday food that we eat, the leaves. In leaves, the chlorophyll generate and store energy through their chlorophyll, right? They absorb the energy from the sun and store it. And that energy we eat, and it is stored in the form of ATP within our body, right? So these are the different categories of potential energy. And then there is a whole category of kinetic energy, which also we will study in detail. So you saw how to calculate the energy in a Maruti car if 5 people are sitting and it is 1000 kilo weight and it is moving from 0 meter per second up to 10 meter per second. So kinetic energy is the energy due to motion of a vehicle, right? When it is at rest, therefore it obviously has to be 0 because it is not in motion. So when it is in motion, suppose we need an expression to calculate what the kinetic energy is. So we use the example of the Maruti car moving from rest to some velocity of 10 meter per second. We didn't really bother about S because we saw S got cancelled later. How much distance it gained that speed, right? Finally, what is important is what speed it reached. And we saw that the energy, we calculated it to be 50,000 joules, right? Let's now take a general case, not the Maruti car. So generally, we don't want to say 1000 kilos, let's say m kilos, okay? At 0, we know the energy is 0, right? The kinetic energy is 0. We want to calculate the kinetic energy at some velocity v, okay? Let's just take a general velocity. So we see that energy is nothing but the capability to do work or change from one form to another, right? But there is no other form of energy when this car is moving, right? It is only kinetic energy, and therefore the change in kinetic energy, the final kinetic energy minus the initial kinetic energy, will be nothing but the work done, right? But the initial kinetic energy is nothing but 0, right? So the final kinetic energy will be nothing but the work done by this car, by the engines of this car, to make it move from 0 meter per second to v meter per second, okay? So work is nothing but force times displacement, right? And obviously the force has to be in this direction, otherwise the car won't move in that direction, correct? And therefore force and displacement are in the same direction, and therefore this will be positive, right? Next, how do we calculate force? Force is mass times acceleration, right? Mass times acceleration times the displacement is again s. Now if you see this mass is already given here, right? We need to calculate acceleration, right? You can use A is equal to v minus u by t, for example. Suppose it moves to this s at a time t, and then you will get v minus u by t times s. but then you can't go ahead here, right? You'll struggle here. So that is why we use the third equation of motion, right? And we know this AS, right? What is it? We know that V square minus U square is 2 times A times S, right? So A times S is nothing but V square minus U square by 2, correct? So we will substitute this A into S is equal to V square minus U square by 2. So what will we get? I will just erase this part, right? We had kinetic energy is mass into A into S, right? So mass into A into S is V square minus U square by 2, right? But what was the initial velocity of the car? It was 0. The car started from rest, right? So this part will go. You are left with kinetic energy is equal to, this 2 will come out as half m times V square. Okay, so this is the general energy equation for kinetic energy. For any body moving in one dimension, the kinetic energy of the body is given by half m times V square. So one thing to note here is, see, it did not depend on either the displacement or the time, right? It doesn't matter how long you take to move to get to V meter per second. So in the first car example, the person might have pressed the accelerator slowly and finally reached 36 km per hour, or very rapidly might have pressed the accelerator and gone to 36 km per hour. But finally the energy in both the cases would have been the same. It does not matter how fast you accelerate, it only depends on the velocity at that point. Okay, in our previous example it was 10 meter per second, that was around 35 km per hour, right? And in that case we saw that the energy to be 50 kilojoules. So that is how you derive the expression for kinetic energy. So power is defined as the work done in unit time. We saw that the SI unit for work done was joules and T is second, right? So the SI unit will be joule per second or watt. So in the first case, there were 2 boys who started from here. Okay, so both these boys run up, and when boy A reaches 4th floor, boy B has reached 3rd floor, right? So who has done more work? Obviously boy A, right? So because work is nothing but mgh, the mass of both are the same, but height gained by boy A is more than height gained by boy B, and therefore work done by A is more than work done by B, correct? And therefore if you see what about work per unit time? The time taken by A and time taken by B is the same, right? When boy A reaches 4th floor, boy B would have reached 3rd floor, right? So the time for this guy to come from here to here is the same time as for this guy to come from here to here. So the denominator is the same, right? And therefore the power of A will be more than the power of B, right? Because this numerator is greater than this numerator, right? So what do we see here? In the same time, if the work done by one body is more than the work done by the other, then the power of the first one will be more than the power of second one. Okay. In the second examples, both of these people, right, they started from here and eventually reached here, right? Both of them reached here. But it is given that B takes more time than A, right? So A reaches faster than B. So both of them have done equal amounts of work, but A has done it faster than B, right? B takes more time than A. So intuitively, who will have more power? A will again have more power because he has done the equal amount of work in faster time, right? So if you take the ratio of WA by TA here and WB by TB, you will see that the power of A will be more than power of B. These two are the same, but this is lesser than this, and therefore the inverse will be greater than each other, right? So power of A will be greater than power of B. Okay, so two different cases. In the first case we saw that the time was same, but work done by A was more than work done by B in the same interval of time, and therefore power of A was more than power of B. In the second case, we saw that the work done was the same, but the time intervals were different, right? And therefore power of A is greater than power of B.
Return to the conservation of mechanical energy. I have here a pendulum. I have an object that weighs 15 kilograms and I can lift it up 1 meter, which I have done now. That means I've done work. MGH is the work I have done, believe me. I've increased the potential energy of this object. 15 times 10 is about 150 joules. If I let it fall, then that will be converted to kinetic energy. If I would let it swing from 1 meter height, and you would be there and it would hit you, you'd be dead. 150 joules is enough to kill you. They use these devices, it's called a wrecker ball. They use them to demolish buildings. You lift up a very heavy object, even heavier than this, and then you let it go, you swing it, thereby converting gravitational potential energy into kinetic energy, and that way you can demolish a building. You just let it hit, and it breaks a building. And that's the whole idea of wrecking. So you are using then the conversion of gravitational potential energy to kinetic energy. Now, I am such a strong believer of the conservation of mechanical energy that I am willing to put my life on the line. If I release that bob from a certain height, then that bob can never come back to a point where the height is any larger. If I release it from this height and it swings, then when it reaches here, it could not be higher. There is a conversion from gravitational potential energy to kinetic energy back to gravitational potential energy, and it will come to a stop here. And when it swings back, it should not be able to reach any higher, provided that I do not give this object an initial speed when I stand here. I trust the conservation of mechanical energy for 100%. I may not trust myself. I'm going to release this object, and I hope I will be able to do it at 0 speed, so that when it comes back, it may touch my chin, but it may not crush my chin. I want you to be extremely quiet, because this is no joke. If I don't succeed in giving it 0 speed, then this will be my last lecture. I will close my eyes. I don't want to see this. So please be very quiet. I almost didn't sleep all night. 3, 2, 1, 0. Physics works, and I'm still alive. See you Wednesday.
Hello, I'm Gav. Welcome to the Slow-Mo Guys. You've joined me in the middle of a Dallas wrecking yard. For a long time, we've been a big fan of these three blokes, so we're very excited to be here to promote Season 2 of the Grand Tour. Dan's late. There he is. What is that?
Check it out! What do you think of this? It's my RV.
You bought an RV?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you know, I was thinking we're shooting in these remote locations. I want somewhere to chill out, like a home base, relax.
Makes sense. Bit of
have a
road
shower.
trip, American dream and all that.
Absolutely.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So you're saying Grand Tour?
Right, yeah, Grand Tour. So
Yeah.
it'd be a crime not to do something involving cars.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what looks good with slow motion and cars?
Or annihilating the hell out of them.
Smashing them up.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
I was thinking, how about a 4-ton wrecking ball and a huge crane? Usually
it.
used to smash up massive buildings.
Yeah, so it should make a sizable ding in a car.
I mean, I think it's slightly overcompensating. But anyway, we've got some old bangers we're going to annihilate, and how about we test it on a wall first?
We've got to make sure we've got a good wrecking ball.
Yeah, benchmark.
I agree, yeah. Miley Cyrus, that's big.
Yeah, I wasn't messing around. This is 9,000 pounds, or more than 4 metric tons of pure heft.
Big old fat crane, swinging it in.
Yeah.
So we're going to hit the wall from behind. This is actually a real brick wall. solid. Got some supports on the back.
Yeah.
Obviously, they'll do nothing against this, though.
This is coming in useful as a blast shield.
I'm going to hug this as close as possible.
Yeah, a second
Also
use.
Triggering 2 Phantoms here.
Oh man! Acted like it was nothing. It just tore through it like a piece of paper.
It's like Lego.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're ready to put the cars in.
Yeah, that was a good test. We're ready. Our victim, a real American car, isn't it? You can
Victim number 1,
Yeah.
honking colour.
Oh, it's like minging. What
It's like
colour
a
is this?
beigey, tan, vommy boke.
Definitely involves vomit somewhere.
It does.
100%.
So we're going to absolutely rail it, just right there. Hit it. I think if we hit it low, it's more likely to shift. So we'll give it maximum beans and get the hell out of the way.
There he goes. Oh yeah. Oh, it hasn't even turned around. It's coming. It's coming. Oh! That's a hit.
Just swept it right out of frame.
It's like he just got a broom and went like this with the car. Look, it's buckled that tyre. Look at that.
Wait, what?
Do you see what's happened is it's hit the rear of the car and this tyre has dug into the ground.
Oh, it pulled the tyre off the wheel.
Yeah, it ripped the tyre off the wheel and it's caused the back of the car to go out. And look, this tyre obviously didn't have as much weight over it, so it span it around the back.
Oh!
Oh man.
See, now here's your problem. How are you going to get in the car now? Because the handle's broken.
How are you going to pick up chicks? I mean, you could drive it, sure.
Oh,
But how are you going to pick
dear.
up girls if they can't get in?
That is hefty. Do you want to see if the other door opens and you can get in the driver's seat?
Oh, it's like slightly lower than it was before because the wheels bent. Oh,
Any idea how fast you can? Looks like you've pranged it.
what happened here? Well, funny story.
All right, let's have a cheeky look at that footage, shall we?
I'm up for it.
Oh, you know what though? Wrecking Ball's absolutely fine.
Oh wow! You see the window go?
It
Is that
sort
one
of
gonna
tablecloth whips the window away.
go? Now the car's just like moving from one place to the other.
What's interesting is that even though the area of impact is, you know, the size of the front of the wrecking ball, it drags in so much extra material, so the dent is like twice the size of it.
Yeah.
It's dragging door and it just bashed the whole car out of frame.
See you later.
Oh, look at that. So you see there where the roof metal is becoming kinked and being like dragged down its crease? It's flinging off all the paint. Look,
Oh wow, that's so
paint's
cool.
chipping off in those lines.
So there's an element of difference to this car
See
Yeah,
what you did
yeah.
with that one?
in the fact that there's no door pillar.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The last one we hit down here, this one,
Yeah.
if we raise the ball maybe a foot, we'll get more sort of crumpleage in the top and less moving of the whole car.
So we're going to completely change the angle of which we hit in the car. So maybe just smash through the top if
Yeah.
you can. All right,
It's
cool.
really, we don't ever really know what's going to happen. We're learning all the time.
It's an experiment.
It's an experiment. Do you think he ever drops the ball on his job? Oh, it's such a delay from this. It really is.
Oh, here it comes. Oh my God. Oh man. I thought that might happen because we're hitting it from the top. I thought if the roof's strong enough, it'll flip the car.
Just straight in the window.
That's cool. You see the way the back glass burst? That's
Yeah.
wicked. Look how it's like almost pushing it into the floor now. Dragging it along.
Oh, it's way worse than being T-boned. Look at that. That glass is now just aerial glitter.
I like how the glass is pretty much stationary, but the car is actually being shoved aside faster than the glass is in the forward.
Oh, look at that bend in the tyres in the back there.
Oh wow.
That's some pressure.
So impressive how strong the roof is, the fact that it held on and dragged it.
You wouldn't want to have been in that one.
No. The mirror didn't even get touched. It missed them. It must have missed the mirror by about an inch.
Oh, there's some coins.
What?
Some
Where?
pennies.
I need some change actually.
Ah, you see, there's your problem.
What?
It's upside down.
It's flipping. It's on its side now, though. I mean,
It is hard to move.
How are we going to move it? Should we? Wrecking ball?
Wrecking ball.
Wrecking ball.
It's like someone just punting it.
Yeah. With a really big shoe. There he goes. Oh! I did a 180. Oh! Flipped it. I thought it was just going to go on its roof.
So it looks like one more hit and it'll be back on its wheels.
Goodness sake.
Shockingly sturdy, the underside of a car, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think that's where all the strength is. So the fact that it just brushed off the wrecking ball and all the force went into flipping the car.
Oh.
Also, I think it's less sturdy on its side than it is with the wheels on the floor. So it's more like
it's no longer bottom heavy.
Yeah.
So that's some good swinging.
Yeah.
How do you feel about dropping?
I like dropping. Let's do some dropping.
So we've hit the bottom of one, we've hit the side.
Yeah.
Well, now we'll just let gravity do the work right on the front.
So the idea is just pull it all the way up, push the emergency release and drop it. Basically just dropping the equivalent of a small elephant onto the bonnet. So, yeah.
Like a female African elephant.
Yeah.
All right,
Very
let's
specific.
do it.
Oh!
That, well, it just landed in the car.
It's parked in the car. It's just parked in it.
You know what? That hit the ground so hard, it shook the camera. Look at this camera shake.
Or like a giant. Whoa! Like a giant's footsteps when, like, in
Yeah.
the films when, like, the dust moves.
If there was a cup of water on the floor, it would have been T-Rex
like
level splat.
like Godzilla style.
Yeah. Look at this GoPro just sat there. We could have killed that GoPro. It's amazing it survived.
£9,000 on a GoPro would do it. Oh! Look how the side window burst. It
on the other side?
Yeah, on the other side. It was there 1 second. The next second, it just burst. It just exploded.
Excellent.
That went really deep in the car then.
I'm convinced the wrecking ball actually just hit the ground there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel like we should try and hit it again. We should try and hit it right here. Thanks for that.
Sorry, straight onto the bonnet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, where's the steering wheel?
It's in the seat.
Look at that. The steering wheel would be in your legs.
Look, just popped out this. It's just like, boop. Oh! That's the destruction we wanted, right? Goodness me! Unbelievable.
Where is the engine? Is it
Do
just
you know?
pace?
Do you know when car makers say, "Oh, we couldn't fit a bigger engine in"? Yes, you could. I don't think a window has ever been more smashed. You know when you say you take a brick to the window,
Yeah.
but this is about the size and width of the window.
The middle of it there, where it actually landed, it's turned all the glass back to sand.
It's yeah, it's now powder. So this
Oh,
is
couldn't have been more centered on the engine.
perfect. Whoa, that is destruction. What you got to remember is there's an engine there. There's a solid chunk of metal in the way.
Not mucking about.
It bounced off.
Yeah.
You see that?
You see a wrecking ball just rolling away. Oh, that was a lovely amount of destruction.
So satisfying.
We wrecked some cars.
Oh, it turns into paper, doesn't it? It's just like nothing was
I
there.
can see where it gets its name.
Yeah, yeah.
I love this wrecking ball.
Can we keep it? How about we take it with us?
I mean, can you fly with a 9,000-pound ball of metal?
Oh, imagine the excess baggage fees for that.
They'd just make you pay for the whole flight.
Yeah,
at that
probably,
point, probably.
yeah.
Just buy the plane. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. Feel free to subscribe to the Slow Mo Guys and make sure you check out new episodes of the Grand Tour every Friday with Amazon Prime. We'll see you next time. That's quite good, that.
Yeah, it was fun. Enjoyed it.
What time's your flight?
I'm not flying.
You got the RV.
Taking the RV.
Mine's pretty early. I'm going to go back to the hotel if you want to meet. Where are you going back to the hotel now?
Oh no, I'm gonna have a shower, probably chill out for a bit.
You shower in the RV?
Hit the road, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let me know when you get back to the hotel and I'll see you in a bit.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, 1,000 frames.
What happened? Bloody hell.